Allison, we ready to go? Need a motion to come out of exec session into open session. Stephanie, second. Okay. Meredith, questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024 meeting, a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silent meditation. Tonight, our moment of silence is dedicated in honor to all victims of domestic violence. We recognize the profound and lasting impact this trauma has on families, especially children. This October, during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we stand in solidarity with those who have suffered in silence and those who have bravely sought a path to healing. To the children who bear the weight of their parents' struggles, we see you when we acknowledge the innocence lost. May your resilience be celebrated, and may you find hope and strength in a brighter future. Together, we commit to breaking the cycle of violence and fostering environments of love, safety, and support for all families. Let us all raise our voices, spread awareness, and create a world where every individual can live free and fear of abuse. You're not alone, and we stand with you. Please keep in your thoughts and prayers Megan Lannis, a Sachem alum we lost to domestic violence 3 years ago today. Let's never forget her contagious smile and her warm and kind personality that has left a lasting impression on all that knew her.
We'd also like to take a moment of silence tonight for fellow Sachem alumni and our friend and teacher, John Abley, who has a long road ahead, and we know that he'll get through some of this. Thank you.
To Ms. Trombetta to present to us the Sachem Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Vaccaro, I don't see here yet. He's supposed to be presenting to us the Sachem Educational Foundation. So if he arrives, he'll be doing that. But we're excited. Tomorrow is our first senior kindergarten Pass the Torch activity. All our kindergarten students will be meeting up with seniors that went to the same elementary school as them on the football field. So we have the activities going on at North and East all morning. So we're excited about that. This weekend, we have the Sachem North, Sachem East football game at 1 o'clock at Sachem North. And this week in particular, I'm going to ask Mrs. Florio to speak in a second, but it is board recognition night. And we'd like to start by saying thank you to all the board members up here, the students and adults, for their time, their energy, and what they do for Sachem. The jackets in front of you is a gift from a combination of the different units, and I'll have Mrs. Florio touch on that.
Good evening, everybody. So as Ms. Trombetta mentioned, it is the New York State School Board's Board Appreciation Week. So those jackets in front of you are just a token from the staff here within our different units that wanted to express their thank you and gratitude for everything that you do, the countless hours that you provide to us of your time. It's very much appreciated. And we had put together just a small little clip to say thank you.
I also have proclamations up here from Kathy Hochul and also the New York State School Board Association for all board members. So I'll be giving those to you as well. Today we had one of our final meetings for our 5K event that'll be occurring a week from Saturday. It'll be the 5K, a fun run with all our students. We have 300 people signed up for the 5K and a little bit over 300 for the fun run as well. It's going to be a day of activities. We have sports clinics going on, a lot of vendors that are community-owned businesses that'll be here. PTA is running a bunch of different events, and this is the PTA Council's big scholarship fundraiser. So we're encouraging everyone to come out. The weather looks wonderful, knock on wood. And so we're looking forward to an exciting day. So I'm going to pass it over to our student board members right now.
Good evening, everyone. I have a bit to talk about because I was unable to attend the last meeting. So this is going all the way back to our homecoming, which was September 28th. So our homecoming dance was a great success. We sold a school record number of tickets. We had something like 900 to 950 students attend. So that was great. We had a very fun time and there was zero problems the entire night. So it was a great success and everyone had a lot of fun. A lot of senior nights have been going around the school. As of recent, we've had, just to name a few, both the boys and girls soccer teams, the field hockey team, and this Saturday, the football team against we have the food drive starting up November 4th. That'll last from November 4th to the 22nd. Really looking forward to that. It's usually a great success for the school, and in past years, we've been able to feed many, many families around the Sachem district. So we are very excited for that. We have a kickoff assembly that we are bringing back as of this year, where we will be calling down 2 students from every classroom every period throughout the day to collect a box to bring back to each of their classrooms to kind of promote like friendly competition throughout the classes to bring in more and more donations, incentives for teachers to bring out for their kids to make more and more donations. And on the 30th, we have Safe Halloween. Safe Halloween will be from 4:30 to 6:30. There are a lot of opportunities going around the school right now for a lot of opportunities for students to attend and help out with their honor societies. We have a lot of, I believe the foreign languages doing where they have students going and translating for families that may not speak English as their primary language. So we are very excited about that. That's pretty much it. Mike?
Hello, everyone. So for Sachem East, our homecoming dance was also a success. We hit capacity. We had around 600 to 700 people attend. Right now, we are starting to organize the Thanksgiving food drive. We are having a lot of involvement with kids signing up for driving to the middle schools and elementary schools, picking up the boxes and restoring them at the high school to redistribute to the families in need throughout the elementary schools, middle schools, and high school. We also have Safe Halloween the 30th from 5 to 7. When we have lots of club involvement, we are decorating the halls. It'll look really nice. And tomorrow, again, it's a senior kindergarten meetup on the turf. And the homecoming carnival was a huge success as well right before the game. We had a lot of clubs, a lot of different class government, student government. It was very nice. And school spirit this year is really amazing. With all the different football games, all the different sports, and the senior nights are well decorated. A lot of involvement in student sections.
Yes. And Mr. Vaccaro is here, so I'm going to invite Mr. Chris Vaccaro up to speak about the Sachem Educational Foundation.
Thank you, Ms. Trombetta, Mr. Scavo, board, and administrators. I guess about a year ago, I was here where I spoke about the potential for launching an education foundation, and so we launched one. So we put in the work, found a lot of dedicated people around the community, most are alumni, many parents, many people involved in education, put the paperwork together, formed a proper 501c3, put grant criteria together, built a website, and have done outreach to let people know that we exist. Obviously, with the financial headwinds that are constantly facing educational programs across the state, it's nice to have an ability to give funding back to the schools through grants and through money that we raise through our nonprofit. And hopefully every year we have the ability to cut a big check to Sachem, and there's a proper way of going about how that money gets delivered to educational programming. The key is it extends beyond your standard K-12 curriculum. It's extra, so to speak. It's grant money that we will raise, that we will fight for and claw for through events, through galas, through fundraisers that we'll have throughout the community. So March 27th at Bill Lombardi's, 6 or 7 p.m., still figuring out the details, we will have our inaugural Sachem Educational Foundation Gala. And we hope to raise money that will help fund grants that teachers and students will apply for based on the criteria that we have outlined. And we'll do through Ms. Trombetta and through the administration, we'll go through discussions, FAQs, info sessions with administrators so that they can talk to their staffs about what would constitute as a proper grant, what is the proper things that we should be applying for. And so there's a lot of great ideas, innovation, technology, arts, STEAM, STEM, and I can give you a list of 100 different things that many different educational foundations across Long Island have applied for through their own foundations, and they're beautiful because they're above and beyond regular K through 12 curriculum. I think it enhances our ability to do things with our students that we just can't do based on either current funding or just based on the amount of time in the day. So we'll work with educational leaders in each building to make sure they're aware of what the grant program can do for them. Make sure that everybody who's submitting grant applications are on the same page so they don't randomly have money coming into their building about programs that they didn't know. And the beautiful part about, I'd say this is a partnership with the school district and the educational foundation. We have administrators, board members, community members, parents, educators, all part of the process. So the communication is open, honest, transparent. Everyone's working together to raise money for the sake of kids and programming here in Sachem. I'm surprised it took this long to be able to have our own education foundation in this community. A lot of other districts have it or communities have it. As I say all the time, we should be doing above and beyond every other school district because we are Sachem. So we are here for that purpose. I'm happy to shepherd it, build it, make it grow. And the beautiful thing is there's another 20, 25 people involved in this beyond me, and people that have cared deeply about the purpose of our educational programs here and want to make them bigger, better, stronger, and faster. And we can do that with an educational foundation. So I'm very excited about where we're headed. Now that we've formed this committee, now that we've built this nonprofit, we will work very hard and be single scope focused on getting this March 27th event out the door. Selling tickets and sponsorships and tables, raffles, the whole game of how do you raise money for all the organizations that we're all a part of. The key is to do it together and to make sure everyone's aware of it. So I expect everybody to be there. I expect everybody to help get the word out there. And I think we will do that together. So I'm excited. And I will keep the board updated, emails. I'll come back and give frequent updates. And I can't wait to present a giant check that we donate in toward educational programming at some point in the next year. So questions, comments? Yes.
Mr. Baumann?
Yeah, you just mentioned the committee. How's that? Who's on the committee?
As I said, there's people from the community. There's parents. There are alumni. There are 2 people that are representatives from the Board of Education, 2 people that are administrators in the school district, and they have all gone through a voting process for our executive board to make sure that they're there for the right purposes. So I have the names all listed on our website, and I can provide that. But they're all people that are either parents or alumni or residents. So,
Alex?
Chris, I just wanted to just say thank you for the people that don't know the amount of work that you do, not only for the Alumni Association, the Sachem Report, all of the volunteering that you do, and even on this now to take on this endeavor for us. Your volunteerism, your love for the Sachem community and the district. For the people that don't know, it's really incredible, and you deserve a lot of credit.
appreciate that.
Thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
Meredith?
So I am one of the board liaisons that's on this, and I have to tell you that it is heartwarming to see all the people that come together, people who have graduated from here, people who have graduated and gone off and come back because it's so important to them. Sachem is always so important to them. I don't know how Chris does what he does. I swear he's definitely got to have a second, like Chris, someplace else, a clone, because it is amazing. And he downplays what he does, but he built the website and he did all social media. And like we are all helping to do what we can, but he's been truly an asset. And the gala, we are going to have people that are nominated to be honored, and I would have loved for him to be one of our honorees because he definitely checks every box, but I know he won't let us do that. So just
No.
know that in our hearts we definitely wanted you to be one.
But that is a key point. So that, yeah, it's not about me. The honorees as part of the gala is important because we even have an honoree criteria of who we'd like to recognize, and we'll go over that. We're sharing names amongst the committee members now, but we want to honor people with the Walter C. Dunham Leadership Award. And the reason why we would not be standing here if it was not for the vision of Walter C. Dunham, who, if you don't know, and I hope you do, was the founding chief superintendent of Sachem in 1955. And I thought it would be very proper to have an award named in his honor. So we're going to hopefully honor people that are a product of our community, believe in education, and want to make sure that we continue to evolve as a community and a school district going forward. And I think the way we'll do it, obviously there'll be men and women. There'll be hopefully maybe a group or two that we honor as well. Trying to sell tickets and tables here, so that's the key. That's the deal. We'll take donations, but it's going to come down to ticket sales, I'm sure, at the end of the day.
Chris, is there any particular school district that you looked at that really has an outstanding alumni association that we're kind of modeling?
Yeah, not alumni association. That's a separate thing. We do have an alumni association that I'm in charge of and I founded. But to model our educational foundation, originally Chris Pelletieri and Ms. Trombetta had said, hey, look at Rockville Center, where Chris had come from. And so I spoke to their president and founder. They've been around for 20 years with their organization. And then East Islip as well as an educational foundation. And then I just did a ton of competitive analysis based on the grant criteria and the bylaws that were developed with organizations all over the country. It's very easy to look at Long Island, but I was looking at things in Texas, Florida, California, just to be safe.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing, the fruition of your hard work. I can't wait to see. I certainly will be at that gala.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, will be. So,
And it's in Bill Lombardi's. We want to make sure you got to do it in Sachem. We're not going to give our business to another
Sure.
community.
But thank you so much for updating us and presenting to us, where you started and where we're at. So,
My pleasure.
look forward. Thank you.
Always everything for Sachem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Got it.
Mr. Rabbat, anything else in your superintendent's report? Okay, brings us to item D, approval of minutes. Any motion to approve the minutes from October 9th, 70, second by Sabrina. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. House and any visitors? No. Item 4 is the approval of our district-wide school safety plan. Motion, please. Okay, Matthew, second. Mike Cerny, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 5 is business items. We have a consent agenda A through D. Need a motion, please? Okay, Mike Cerny, second. Stephanie Volpe, questions or discussions? Yep.
So, and maybe this is to Mrs. Trombetta. So we were approving an independent accountant's report about the attendance of this survey that they did. There were a lot of findings. Are we in agreement with these findings?
Yep, we're going to pass it over to Mrs. Sarakis.
Okay, I figured that. Okay.
So yes, we were in agreement with these findings, and there is no corrective action report on the agenda for tonight because a lot of the findings and actions that we want to put into place will require us to meet with the unions and get some agreement from them on how we're going to change
'Cause-
some of our processes and
Because they made
procedures.
recommendations, right?
Yes.
So that's so we don't have a plan for the recommendations because we've got to now have
We have to meet
discussions
with
with
the
our units.
Correct.
Okay. If we can just keep this sort of on the docket for an update periodically, right? Because
Absolutely.
the question I had is, with these findings, was there any financial impact to us? It sounds like it's a very manual, laborious process that you guys go through, but
Right, and it was between my office and Ms. Kate Leeden's office, just the different sides of personnel, who records attendance in a
Yeah.
different way and absences, and we are looking to try to automate this just so there's not as much room for error.
when do we think we'll have some resolution or a plan?
after we get approval of the report, I can then
Okay.
work with Kristen here and arrange a meeting with the unions.
So this, Rob, is one of the things I just don't want, if we can put this on the old business,
Yeah, sure.
keep track of it every couple of months or what have you, maybe sometime after the holidays. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on item 5? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 6, we have personnel consent agenda A through N. Any motion, please? Okay, Matt Diamond, second by Maria. Questions or discussions? Just one quick question. I know this question popped up in an email to me. Item M, approval of staff at PSAT proctoring. It's about $4,000. My understanding is we're doing it on Saturday this year. Is that normal to do it on Saturday? Or do we normally do it during school?
Well,
PSAT?
we have done it in the past. It's just been a while since we have done it this way. So we're just going back in.
So we have in the past, the PSAT was given to all our 10th and 11th graders, and the district funded it. This year, we don't have it built into our budget, so this year it's being done on a Saturday for those families that want to sign up for it.
I guess the question that was presented to me, and I didn't have the answer to, is that did we normally do it during school, during a regular school day, PSAT, or was it always on a Saturday? Okay.
In years past, in the last few years, it was done during school because every student was given the opportunity.
Okay, so the question I have is it
That
more
is bu-
beneficial to it? This $4,000 worth of stipends here.
That is built into
That's
the
built into the
cost
cost.
of the
That's
test
being
that they're
paid
taking.
for by
The student.
participants.
Yep.
Okay.
And also, just to note, we do have some other staff that are being funded through some other IT related monies that are separate from that.
Yeah, I didn't have the answer to that question. That's why I said I would ask you during the board meeting so that it was clear. There was no additional cost. All right, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
So it's an exciting night for 5 of our SCTA teachers. It has been a long-awaited opportunity to recognize 5 teachers who are receiving tenure in the upcoming month of November and December. So what we'd like to do as a token of appreciation and recognition for all the hard work and the dedication that you have made within our classrooms and in our community is have you come up. We'd like to give you a Sachem pin in recognition for your continued work here with us and take a group photo. So I'm going to name each of the folks who are on tonight's agenda for granting of tenure, ask you to come on up. And then, of course, Ms. Kleinman's in the audience, so we'll ask you to join us, too, when we get there, too. Michael Calvagna, Ariana France, Danielle Modica, Patty Reichel, and Caitlin Tuna. Come on up.
Item 7, we have a personnel consent agenda A through J for support staff. Any motion, please? By Stephanie, second by Meredith. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 8 is personal consent agenda A through B for administration. Any motion, please? Okay, Vinnie Reynolds, second by Laura Slattery. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Number 8.
No?
No. So number 8 was granting tenure to Mr. Lapani. Mr. Lapani actually received tenure. It was a clerical error, we found out later.
In the administrative section?
Yeah.
Yes. In the administrative section, there was an update to something when we get to that piece.
Okay, item 9 is contracts. We have consent agenda A through B. I need a motion, please. Ms. Iserni, second by Laura Slattery. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 10, field trips. Item A, approval of field trips for 24-25 school year. Motion, please. Alex? Okay, second by Stephanie. Questions or discussions?
Just on the motion after them. Go ahead.
Okay, Vinnie?
Yeah, just a question, Rob. In terms of the fees, who's paying for the travel?
So all travel, including the cost of the substitutes that are needed, is being paid by the Booster Club. None of it is through the district.
No, great, thank you. I just wanted that clarification.
How did you have any idea around about how much the girls raised to go on a trip like this?
I don't have that offhand. I know this year it'll be additional because in the past we did pay for covering the teachers, the coaches that needed to go, and this year that is
We're
has to be
talking
pushed in.
tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes,
Alex, I knew
yes.
some folks on the East squad, and I think it was over $1,000.
Yes.
2 years ago per child.
Each,
Yeah. It's probably more than that today.
And I can certainly get the figures for you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 11 is Committee on Special Education. We have consent agenda A through B. Matthew Bauman, second by Alex Picarillo. Questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. 12 brings us to donations. Donation from the Wheelan Foundation from $3,869 for Linwood. Motion, please. Stephanie, second. Meredith, questions or discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 13 is our monthly reports from our committees. Stephanie, you want to go first?
I have both the Budget Advisory Committee and the Legislative Committee updates. So both committees were well attended. The Budget Advisory Committee dove in deep to a whole bunch of discussion that I don't even know if we can make a lot of it public, so I'm just going to give a summary. So we picked the chairs. We need emails for them. I was going to send you that. And then they really wanted to focus on the unfunded mandates, income streams and resource lists, improvement to communication and social media, and they are willing to work with the Legislative Committee on budget advocacy for funding. So then the legislative meeting, well attended, did not pick chairs yet because not everybody was able to attend. They had a great idea that a member who's also on her, where she's employed, school district's legislative committee, they have other school districts have a representative come and be on their legislative committee so that they can work together and advocate for things that are mutually beneficial. So I wanted to bring that up to the board because it was such a great idea. So for example, well, I don't know if I should name the districts, but a local district goes to another local district on the regular. They'll send one of their legislative committee members to attend, and then they brainstorm together. And I think with the unfunded mandates part, that could be something that we could start doing here at Sachem since we're so big. Dana Plaint wants to get a trip to Albany to advocate for funding. She wanted to ask the board if we could ask the teachers union to help with that, because in the past they helped with busing and stuff like that. They would like the board to give them specific items of legislation and specific unfunded mandates that we could focus on, which was to your point a while ago, that they could work on so that we can connect with the Budget Advisory Committee and the legislative together, and then work on it in a bigger format. So that was one of the things. Both committees brought up that we need more community involvement. And then the next meeting for the legislative committee, we will be picking chairs and the secretary. So that's basically it. So one of the things both committees really wanted was direction from the board, because there's a lot. Like, I do feel that both committees want to focus together on things that can be very productive. Because there's a lot, like there were a lot of questions at the Budget Advisory Committee where we discussed many items. So getting specific direction would help, narrow it down. Plus also have them work together, common funding issues.
So the common funding issue is the formula, right, which would impact both the legislative committee and the budget advisory committee, right? When we know how much money we're going to have, it's going to make a huge picture, and that's something that we can still advocate to, because it's not done yet.
We discussed that, and one of the issues with the formula is it comes out so late that all the advocacy is wasted. We're not even thinking about, like last year, we kind of got blindsided by all the funding and the numbers. They want the unfunded mandate list so they can look and see where we're getting hit the hardest in the unfunded mandate, and then they could join together to work against that. They will want to work for funding formula issues, but that's so late in the game. Like, we were discussing how stuff didn't come out till April. So by then we have from now until April, where we got blindsided last year.
Yeah. This is what happens though every year when the state uses the aid to school districts as a bargaining chip for their own
Absolutely.
pet projects. It actually
And they
hurts public
recognize
school
that.
education. So
Yes.
the legislative committee should be advocating for an earlier date, a deadline for that number to come out, so that we're not
That's-
in that boat every single year.
Right. And that's where we as a board have to give them the charge on whether you want them to focus on the unfunded mandates, both the issue with which one would be more successful according to the board. You know what I mean? Because if we focus on what's like hurting us the most financially, was what they were leaning towards. But I see your point. We did talk about the formulation being an
just
issue.
my opinion, but the biggest thing that's hurting us is that every penny that we spend, that we send up to New York State, that we're not getting back, is hurting public school education.
Absolutely.
So we when you guys go up there, divide and conquer and get loud and peacefully go into the Capitol.
They don't even want to divide and conquer now.
Yeah.
They kind of want to all come together. And everybody, this is really the first time we've heard the committees actually want to advocate together, but then they brought in the other component of getting with other school districts. I mean, this is there's a lot of enthusiasm to help.
Yeah. The unfortunate root of the cause is money. And that's
Absolutely.
unfortunate.
And they see what it's doing to our kids.
Vinny?
Maybe, Michelle, this is a question for you. I think you were preparing a list of all the unfunded mandates for us, right? The amounts? Yeah. When can we expect that?
So there isn't one location for that list. I did ask a couple of our associations and then one of the contractors that we work with on financial services in the school districts. But I did locate a couple of school districts on the island that have been putting lists together, and they're posted on their website. So I should have a pretty good start of it for this Friday packet. That'll have the largest ones that are easy to quantify.
Laura?
So I think, in my opinion, for the legislative committee, when you brought up going to Albany and combining it with the SCTA, so that was one of my first trips to Albany, was when we did for advocacy, and all other teachers union districts went on the same day, and we had a schedule and talking points, and the hashtag was our fair share, and it was again Long Island districts coming together to say our money should be coming back to our schools. We need our fair share. And we all broke up into groups and met with different, thank you. I'm sorry. I sometimes lose my train of thought. Elected officials to discuss this, but it was a great collaboration between parents. I was I don't even remember how long ago, John Weston actually set up my Twitter account. I didn't even have Twitter. We were on the bus. John took my phone, set up Twitter, taught me how to use it. And it was just a great collaboration with a lot of people working together for the same goal. And I think along the years, we've sort of lost sight of that our Long Island districts are suffering because money's not coming back here. So instead of, working each separately, if we come together, especially Sachem being one of the largest school districts, and really have our voices heard. I think we had, I don't know, Phil, like 3 or 4 buses at least. And then we took all the letters, remember the boxes and boxes and boxes, that we had our whole community get involved, all classes, write letters. And we had boxes and boxes of letters. To me, that made a statement. And that was really having our voice heard. And I think doing that in a big gesture like that is better than some of the other things that we could do separately.
Stephanie?
She just made me think of something. One of the other discussion points was our use of social media, and if we could push it more so that both committees had a lot of people feeling like they didn't know what was going on. And they kept asking us, well, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And we, the board, are putting it out here like this. It's not like we're keeping information from anyone. It's just that they're not accessing it. So we have to think of a different way to share the information. And some of them said maybe using social media because people aren't paying attention to this, and not their fault, but they might not want to have to sit through a meeting. So if we could put out blurbs of information, a lot of them were shocked at the unfunded mandates. I mean, they were like, how long have you known of this? And I was like, 20 something years I've been, paying attention. So, but I have to also remember people don't have the time that I have to be able to do this. So if we could put it in easier blurbs that would shoot it out and say, listen, this is what we need to pay for. This is why we can't pay for it right now. And maybe if you could help us advocate.
Mike? So I got the 2 things. First, a policy committee update. Myself and Sabrina and Meredith met with, not Marion, Keith Olson from Ingham and Smith, and we went over some of the policies. We did accept the updated policy regarding the board memberships, the association memberships. So I guess you'll see that in right, Allison. We also looked at the facilities use policy, and I agreed that I would take a cut at that. It's obviously antiquated. It's fax numbers and stuff like that on that form and all. So, but I think that, and maybe I get a feel from the board, I think the tact is going to be that there are certain groups that meet certain criteria based on their population of residents, et cetera, that we don't need to know about those, that we can give authority. But then there are a certain other group that may come in and that we might want to know, we might want to give that authority based on maybe their profit status or a commercial enterprise or something like that. So my thought process is that when someone applies for use of the facilities, there's probably a group that meets a certain criteria that we wouldn't have to know. That could be Patty or her designee could approve that use because they're already residents, they're children of the district, et cetera, the nonprofits. And there's another section of people who might want to use our facilities that we wouldn't want her to have the authority. We'd want to see those. So does it kind of sound like what we want to do? Is that, just throw it out there because this is something we're going to draft up. So
Yeah, because I think, Mike, last time we spoke, right, one of the last sentences is the board has to approve every use form. We got to get out of that business, right? We got to leave it to administration. But there should be exceptions for those types of things. So I'm going to agree with that. So.
That's the tact I was going to take in the first draft. So, Alex?
Oh, thanks. Okay, so with the for-profit groups, so the reason why we had eliminated for-profit groups is because when you look at our facilities and the amount of our students that need them, plus our not-for-profit groups that need them, if we start getting into the for-profit groups, the wear and tear of our facility, and as Wayne said here, thousands of permit applications come in for that. So I came up with an idea that I shared with Patty that maybe the Budget Advisory Committee could look into. Next to the PAL at Tamarack, there's like 6 acres of unused fields that are there. Was that me?
Oh, it's a sign. Yeah,
It was the ghost of
Yeah.
Sachem not agreeing with whatever you're about
Yeah,
to say.
obviously somebody. But so as we're looking for new revenue streams, if we maintain those 6 acres behind Tamarack now that nobody uses at all, anytime at all, and we start allowing permits for those fields to for-profit groups, that's where the for-profit groups can go. Because again, when we used to have our facilities open for profits for everybody and anybody that wanted to use them, the wear, tear, and the not-for-profit groups not being able to use them, that was the problem. That's why this policy was originally changed, was because the amount of for-profit groups using our facilities that did not allow then our not-for-profit groups to use them, and paying the, what is it, $30 an hour for our fields. So we have for-profit groups charging kids $5,000 to be in a travel lacrosse league, paying $30 an hour to use our fields. That, to me, I would never agree with. We could have further discussion, but I will tell you, I was a hard no back then, and I'm still gonna forever be a hard no on that. Our fields are for our communities. Our students here are not for profits. When you're in a for-profit league, you cannot be paying the same rate and using our fields, that the wear and tear. And that would just be my problem with that.
Well, I think that's why those would come to the board, right?
And they would come to the board. And again, I'm never going to agree with a for-profit being a part of that, because then if any board members, I think there has to be different fees. I'm not going to get into why, but I just think in the past it didn't work out, and that's all I'm saying. But again, I'm one person, so that can be the discussion, but I would never be in favor for profit paying the same as our not-for-profit
Well,
groups.
I don't think I was getting to that.
No, but I would never
wasn't
be
saying
the
that.
same for-profit using the fields that could take away field time for our not-for-profits in our
Mike,
community.
to your point, the board has always taken the position where if there's a special interest in using a field that's an outside group, it always came back to the board for approval. Whether it was Section 11, whether it was a youth organization that wanted to use our stadium field for their Super Bowl, that stuff like that always came back to the board for approval.
No, that's why I think
Yeah.
there's probably 2 buckets, right? There's the
Yeah.
bucket of groups that meet a very specific criteria that we're all in agreement should be allowed to use it. The non-for-profit, resident-based, certain population, that they don't need to come to us. Right now, the policy really says they really supposed to come to us. I don't think we need that. I think we can look at that
You
criteria.
can eliminate that last line, I think, where it says we have to.
So-
That's all. It's all in-house decision.
But if
made
a
by
group
administration.
comes and asks to use it or makes an application, they don't meet that criteria.
Yeah,
Now, maybe there's a certain group that we just will. There's a no, right? It's a no. We're not even going to ask us. But there might be a section of
But
criteria.
there's situations where like dance studios want to rent our auditoriums, and we made a tremendous amount of money in renting
Right.
them out. That stuff always came back to the board,
Right.
okay, for approval.
Yeah, that's why I think that's the 2 buckets. That's the tact I was going to take, and so we'll go with that. So that's the policy committee update.
Outstanding.
Mike, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I missed last meeting, and I apologize for missing.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I didn't mean to set up the criteria. Now, and there's a pre-authorization criteria.
Let me just, again, we had a group of 95% of the room, and then you put them nowhere first, and then they call, and I'm like, well, you have to go through administration. And then it was like, well, that's the policy. And then there was another group of volleyball teachers. They were all teachers. But then we go to those same parents and say, oh, but you can't come in after school, but you have to go to the and just because we can play a little bit nicer.
Well, but the discussion you're having really is going to be what is the pre-authorized criteria? That's right. Like I just think that there's two buckets. It's pre-authorized by us, meaning they meet a criteria that we've established that they do not need us to approve because they meet a criteria. Then there's the non-pre-authorized criteria, right? That's where my mind is with that. And then that's part of, like, maybe you said, maybe I shouldn't use the word not for profit. Maybe I should use residents, right? Right. So
Whatever. There are other schools that are being competitive and very seasoned that don't treat their residents. I don't know why or how this started, but really we should not be treating people that live in our community. And then turn around.
I'm not arguing with you. Like I said, this is really a criteria question.
FYI, I just want to the volleyball team that he was talking about, I was affiliated with, and those Sachem kids, it was like 90% Sachem residents were on this team. They had to travel to Smithtown to use Smithtown schools for their practices instead of being able to go, right to a local school.
Yes. Okay, so hold on, Stephanie, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Well, I think
No, I have legislative and budget advisory stuff.
Mine's quick. Are we charging a profit company the same or less, or like, why are we not
We're not. We're charging
delineating them that?
We're charging $3 an hour for nonprofits.
Why wouldn't
that
we
meet
make
the
more
criteria.
money then when we need money? Why wouldn't we just raise it for profit, and then the discussion on whether they're allowed to use the field or not is moot, because
So, are you-
we're actually making a profit on the profit companies, and the not-for-profit gets a discount.
That's what we're doing now.
We're
We're paying,
not.
I think we're charging $30 an hour for not.
Are we?
No,
No.
right. So right now, they're paying the same, and it is approved through us. I've asked Michelle to reach out to other districts already, because we are looking to where we
had
can bring in a
second
revenue
different
stream.
rate for out of district, organizations, and if I remember, if we raised it to like $30-something an hour. Okay. No, just for the hourly rate plus the custodial fee, to clean up the trash, and it actually discouraged a lot of those groups from wanting to use the field.
Can we
The
look into this?
for-profit groups, right?
For-profit, yeah.
Right. So the for-profit groups, I guess it shouldn't matter if they're 100% Sachem residents and they're for-profit, and it's 100% Sachem residents, not for profit. I'm just saying there should be two separate fees charged. Okay, that was my point. And then the not for
Saying there is
I
no.
agree with you. And just so you know, that volleyball team offered to pay way more than the asking price for and we were still turned down.
So, but what had happened prior to any of this happening was the not-for-profits and the for-profits were paying the same amount before anything changed. And so the for-profits took out permits and permitted all the fields, all the gym space. So then there was nothing left. And you can ask Wayne, email him. I'm not making that up. And that's why the policy changed, because if you're for-profit, you can take up, you don't know what you're going to need, whether whoever it is. So then a not-for-profit would come along and all the permits would already be pulled and paid. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this is why when we talk about two buckets, yes, but the for-profit has to be done differently, because if you give them the opportunity, they can pay and take up all the gym space. And then a not-for-profit like a SIAG or a Sachem Sports Club, there are no fields, no gyms left. And that's what was happening. That's what the problem was.
I mean, I'll be honest, we could have this discussion. These discussions get very contentious. All of the groups show up. One can make the argument that you're not for profit, okay, and at the end of the year, you have fund balance of $900,000. You can look at, the Form 900s, they're all online, okay, and then you can see for profits that don't have that, that fund balance. So at the end of the day, our Sachem kids always should come first. End the conversation. They should be the ones that use. I always view these fields as it's district property. It belongs to our taxpayers. So the reason why there's a 75% for smaller groups is because I fought for that for baseball teams that only had 15 kids on a team. Okay, we were excluding them, and I said, well, you can't hold them to the same 90% because if you have two kids that are positions that you need to fill that are from different districts, it messes up your entire percentage. So we got that 75%, but we could have the discussion, but people are going to come out. I think things are working right now. I think what we should do is just tweak, our policy and update it without revamping the whole thing because groups are going to come out and they're going to lobby for this, that, and everything else.
Yeah. The only
Yeah.
reason I brought it back up is, and I apologize for missing this meeting again. Wayne, and I'm not blaming Wayne. He said in the last meeting, he's only following the policy, and that's what he's supposed to be doing. So we just need to make it. We made to clean up what he's following and what he's not.
I think,
And I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah.
You just said it much more succinctly than I did.
Yeah, I mean, certain situations when you have a situation like that, because I made the argument at the last meeting. If you have a mom and pop softball team, again, and they're showing that they have 80%, just because they're not for profit, they should not be excluded. Those are Sachem kids. It's like any kid that wants to go and play a pickup soccer game at the Waverly Fields, even though it's a leased property. If there was a Sachem kid that want to play on that field, they should be allowed to. It belongs to the taxpayers.
Yeah, with the disclaimer though, we can't just have anybody on the field. You got to have insurance. That's what Wayne talked about last time. So we just got to be careful what we kind of put out there because there's all sorts of insurance requirements, right? So
once again, I'm talking about individual kids. I'm talking about two girls that want to go down and kick soccer balls on the turf field because they want to improve their shooting ability. Are we going to throw those two kids off the field? Are the Sachem East kids or Sachem Mill kids? I don't think we're going to throw them off the field. We have insurance. We have insurance if the kid gets hurt on a field. That's why we have that insurance.
Let's just be clear
Different
about
teams, though.
that's totally different than
Yeah.
what you're talking about here, which is the policy on groups. That's not individual kids. So the
Well,
groups have to have insurance.
But in years past, kids would be thrown during COVID. There was kids that were thrown off the field that were kicking soccer balls, at some of our fields. We shouldn't be throwing our own kids off the fields.
We have a responsibility to the taxpayer, though, to do what's financially responsible now, specifically because of what's going on with our finances. So while I think when money's unlimited, it's not a problem. But now that we're going into this crisis coming up, that we're in, we need to start looking at all these hard decisions. I mean, we're not running clubs, but we're going to let profit organizations use our fields for the same price as not-for-profit.
I don't think there's a lot of for-profit organizations using that field. It's
Well,
all-
regardless, if that's a way to get any kind of funding in, why don't we look at what other school districts are doing? We have a responsibility to the taxpayer. We have people volunteering. Is it what they said? Because now I just heard that we want to just leave it alone. We're doing fine.
Well, but to Laura's point, though, we've had this conversation a gazillion times. Okay, you want to make the price for not-profit $60 an hour?
I have no
They're
idea
going
what
to pay it, and they're going to displace our.
I'm
kids on
not
the field.
suggesting any of that.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting that we look into it because we have.
Saying the not-for-profit stays at the $3, whatever we're charging. That's what I'm saying, 100%. But if somebody is paying $5,000 to belong on a travel lacrosse team, to charge them $3 an hour to use our field or $30 is
We should
insane.
be. I think those are shot down. I think those are in Wayne's office. They're he
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you're saying is you want to create revenue by using our fields and charging.
But again,
Not
that
by
would
the
be my
not only
tamarack.
for profit. If a for-profit organization's coming to us and wants to give us $1 million to use our field, we would be silly to say no. It's only $3.
Yeah, no.
So I
he's
think.
he's not approving fields for $3 an hour for outside.
But my point is, we don't have a policy, and if that's a way to. Because I just heard two different things. Is it $30
No, we have a
an hour or
policy.
$3
They
an hour?
want to change it. That's
But
what.
I don't know what's going on right now. I asked.
Okay. Yeah.
But
no,
I'm saying if
basically.
I don't understand
Listen,
it, how is the community
Mike,
understanding this?
You have a policy committee, all right? Present to the board, okay, a recommendation with the help of obviously our attorneys, and then the board will take shots at deciphering it. And
I think we're going off on a tangent that doesn't need to be go on. Mike is just proposing that we have our criteria. If they meet it, please approve it. Board does not need to see it. If there's something that comes across, like we had a situation that's a maybe, please bring it to the board and let us say yay or nay so we can move forward. We don't have this back and forth. He said, she said, they don't belong, they do belong. So criteria you meet, please go ahead, approve, approve, approve. Anything that maybe is a little dicey, it meets some but not all, please bring it to the board, let us approve it before you deny them and have community members upset. That's all Mike was saying we should do with the policy as of now. We could look into the Tamarack fields and then talk about using them to get a revenue. Yes?
Yeah.
So maybe a future discussion would be the use
the
of
only
those.
thing is that-
Sabrina, that was a great point. Let me just jump in, Rob, real quick, because that's the bold ideas that I asked for at the last meeting, which is we need to have that discussion sooner rather than later. Those Tamarack Field, that's a huge piece of property. We should sell it. We should lease it out to somebody, do something with it. Those are the bold ideas that we're expecting a discussion on very soon from this board, right? So
Back in the early 2000s, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but there was a proposal to build a sport complex at Tamarack, and that community went bonkers. They
sell it to residential, put
yeah.
houses. We get a
Yeah.
revenue
Well,
stream. To Mike's
I
point,
don't know, if there's,
put houses on the tax roll.
but we have to think about parking. We have to think about blocking, that entrance, Spence Avenue. I don't think it's just, let's put it out and see. But certainly we can look at it. But I
Yeah.
think what we should do is get some feedback maybe from the residents over there to see whether or not it's going to be, disruptive to their quality of life as well. Especially if we're leasing it out to for-profit organizations. So
Can I just say one last thing about the policy committee? I know the invitation was only sent to Mike, myself, Meredith, and obviously to the lawyers. Next, because when we met, there was a lot of things that came up that the lawyer had questions that Meredith, Mike, and I were not able to ask why things were being changed, and we couldn't answer those questions. So I know that after our meeting, a lot of things had to be brought back to Michelle, Patty, for confirmation that maybe if someone from the cabinet could be at the policy meeting so we can do those and bang out the policy so we can come back and have first reading, second reading a little bit sooner instead of having to go back and forth, because the policy committee, we don't meet that often. So at least last week we could have approved a couple of more, but because there were some, why did we want to put this company's name in there specifically? We didn't know the answer to that. That's something that cabinet, I don't know if Keith reached out to you guys personally about those, but it was something we couldn't answer because they're like, why do you want to put it there? And we said, I don't know, Patty or Michelle or someone might know why they want it there, but we did not have that information.
Sure, we
So maybe
certainly
just in
can.
the future. I just don't think there was an invite sent to.
We needed cliff notes, honestly. We needed, like, if you guys brief us and say, hey, you're going to see this come up because of that. You're going to see this come up because of that. Because even when we got it beforehand and read through it, we still didn't know why. And then the attorney that was with us, he didn't seem to know why.
Yeah, there was like an
Certainly
anaphylactics one that was a new one, but we already had something somewhere else. So why were we forming a new one and not adding to that one? So there were just little questions that came up where like, maybe they have to, maybe it's coming from the state. So if someone could be there to answer those questions, so we as the policy could say, yes, this is good, bring it to, read one, read two, and we could move along in those policies. Because we don't meet that often. So that would be just more beneficial in the future.
Going back to the budget advice. Going back to the budget advice. I didn't mean that to turn to a whole big discussion. Two things. So when I think about unfunded mandates and the list of unfunded mandates, those are things that have the power of law and regulation that we're required to do, yet they do not provide us the money to do it. So that's one burden on the budget. Right? But there's another list that I would like to see develop with either the Budget Advisory Committee. A list of all the things we're not legally required to provide. Okay, so that's the list I'd like to see. Transportation issues, extracurricular activities.
I don't know if the budget advisory committee is going to have access to that, so I think that's an ask for the administration.
Yes,
right?
exactly what it is. Yeah. So if we can get that, I'd like to see that too.
Everybody okay with that? Any other reports? Committee reports?
Yeah, we had our first curriculum council meeting today. It was basically more introductory. We got to know, we were broken up into groups that had a mixture of students, teachers, principals, staff. And then we discussed and took a look at our Sachem portrait of a graduate, compared it to what the blue ribbon portrait of a graduate from New York State, and kind of see where we meet, maybe where things need to be a little bit more specific. Each group kind of went and said what they feel like we can add, remove what we got from it, and that's it. And then at that point, I had to leave Laura. I don't know what continued from that point.
Yeah, so basically they had the list, so they're going to compile it, send it out to the group. Our next meeting is November 20th. So they're going to send out an email to take a vote in person or Zoom. And then depending on the majority, we'll get, and then they'll compile the list of what all our groups said. And then we'll tweak our portrait of a graduate. Although pretty much everybody, like where we are in our portrait of a graduate, is really still like everybody there thought it's great, just a little language change or adding things, and then they'll present back to the board after our next meeting.
One of the suggestions was even to give a picture of what we're looking at: primary, intermediate, middle school, high school, of how we're preparing these for those pieces of the portrait of a graduate, how we're preparing the kids to have those skills as they leave our schools.
And then I thought one of the best things was a portrait of a graduate now also includes a portrait of a teacher, because a teacher now, with changing technology and everything changes constantly. So it's not like when you start here, year one, by year 2, 3, 4, 5, it's a constant change. So as our portrait of a graduate comes together, our portrait of a teacher and how a teacher grows and changes in how we view it, and being consistent from elementary to middle school to high school, and have it flow. And that was one of the teachers from Seneca who had that, and just bringing up ideas like that from a teacher standpoint, that with technology and everything changing, when you used to teach kids to memorize definitions, that's really not relevant anymore in today's world with different things. So
That's in future discussion items, Mike. Yeah. Any future discussion items, Stephanie?
Facility use. I had brought up a couple meetings ago, a special education parent advisory committee. And one of the questions asked was who's doing it. And there are several out of state. Actually, New Jersey has it mandated. But we also have a lot in state. So Rochester, Garden City, Hicksville. I pretty much stopped there because I don't want to be redundant. But I was thinking, considering how we want more community involvement and we want parents to be aware, if we could consider starting something similar. And it seems to be a long-standing committee that happens in a lot of other school districts, where they actually give you a guide on how to start it, who to be on it. So I don't know how to start a committee, but I was wondering if we could discuss doing that here and making our special ed parents feel like they have more input than they currently have.
Just a quick question. How would that differ from SEPTA?
SEPTA is a PTA, so they're not part of the school district. They don't take direction from the board. I'm not an expert in this. It's called CPAC, but it's an advisory committee. It's similar to what we have as a board subcommittee. I don't know if this is even a board subcommittee, the way that I didn't dive deep into it because I didn't know what everybody else felt like, how they feel about something like this. So either way we decide, we can make a subcommittee of the board or we can follow their guidelines. It's definitely not a PTA.
Are we okay with that as a future discussion item? To discuss it?
And being it's on a
Stephanie,
future discussion item.
Can you share all that
Absolutely,
information?
yeah.
I don't understand what it is and what it's
Yeah.
gonna
Right.
look like.
It's new. It's new to me, with that said, I don't know how long it's been existing, and it's mandated in New Jersey. So it looks like it's like
Yeah,
spilling over into
Right,
New
but
York.
in order for me to have a conversation,
Absolutely.
I would love to have all that.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things. I didn't want to bombard people with information unless we wanted to look into this further as a future discussion item.
Yeah, if you could present, get us information.
Yeah,
just a little
absolutely.
insight.
And just send it in the group email.
Yeah, we'll provide it to the administration and they can send it out.
Yeah, I can get them.
Stephanie, if you provide it to me, I certainly will put it in the Friday packet for everyone.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
Vinny?
Yeah, before we have that discussion, I'd also like to get input from administration on a committee like this as well and get their perspective on that. So,
I have no problem sharing the information. I'm not expecting a decision at all.
I just want to understand from the administrations, is this a path we want to go down? So,
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, any other future discussion items? Meredith?
So I brought it up in the past and we never really did anything with it, but I really would like for us to be one of those school districts that recognizes the children who are going straight into their career. So like if they get into a union, if they, how our athletes, no matter what division they are, they have a signing day. I think that it would be a really good confidence boost for these children who go straight into the working world to have some type of recognition like that. I know like the unions, Con Ed, things like that, that National Grid, when you get a job with them after high school, like they'll send them, like a shirt, a hat, things like that, because they're going to go and commit to them. And it would just be the right thing for us to do.
Everybody okay with that? This future discussion item? Any other future discussion items? No? Okay. And any motion to go into exec session to discuss student appeals that were made known to the Board of Education? Motion, please. Okay, Laura, second by Meredith. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Have a good evening, everyone.